Hey, what's up, guys? This is Mike with 13 Market Moves. We've got an earnings analysis video for you today, and we are going to be focusing on UNH, United Healthcare. We're going to do some analysis of their previous earnings, some historical comparisons, and then we're going to get you guys set up with some probable moves and how to play this earnings play. So let's just get to it. First thing we're going to do is look at the historical analysis. I am recording this on Wednesday morning, so you can see we already have the data as far as what they've reported. And UNH, they beat every single quarter on their EPS. You can see here ranging anywhere from 10 cents to even last quarter almost up to nearly $2. This quarter, we've got about a 53-cent beat. And they do occasionally miss their number on revenue by just a little bit. But you can see on that top line that they did actually beat here in this particular quarter. So looking at the last couple years, we're going to do an analysis all the way back to October of 2018. On the top of this chart, you can see I have RTH, and that stands for regular trading hours. So each of the quarters, you can see they have an average of about 8 to 10 points, maybe 12 points that they moved during the trading session. And actually, on only one occasion did they actually go have a trading session where they were going down. Next, you can see on the bottom we have our gap ups or gap downs. And in most instances, they do gap up. I would say looks like about 75% of the time here. And the gaps typically are under 10 points, somewhere in the range of 7 or so. Moving along, we're going to take a look at each of the quarters. So going back to quarter 3 of 2018, this is the largest gap that we did have. You can see here was about a 4.6% gap between there and all the way to the top of the range on that particular day. And what's interesting is we're sort of near a topping area here. And the stock did go up after the gap all day long. It did retest, looks like right around the previous kind of close on that red candle there. But what we do see is a continuation from that move downward, which lasts for a week or 2 weeks. And for UNH, I think it's going to be important for us to think about the way that the stock moves, not just on the day of earnings report, but how it's going to move in the following days. So moving along, we're going to look at the whole quarter. So you can see there on the left-hand side that we have, this was what we were just looking at. They did make a couple moves higher, came back down, built this little base of support. And here's our next earnings. We had a 3.5% move. And what's interesting, look at this. We continue to go higher from that point forward, right? And again, kind of a range-bound situation. We're moving along, and in this instance, I don't know if you can see the volume over here, but we had volume on, coming into some other market conditions where, in this case, UNH tends to trade in the $5 to $7 million share range, and here we're up in the 30 million shares. And what we did have was, some arresting here, a huge gap up, and then a really big move down. Okay, so that's rather unusual in terms of how this stock works. And what that really did was set us up for a big, long move up. And again, kind of a topping situation here. You see these candles with these topping tails. And then earnings kind of came afterwards, and we did have a little bit of a move down here. And for that quarter. Now, quarter 3, 2019, again, we have a big gap up, 2.5% move during the regular trading hour session, and once again, continuation. Quarter 4 of 2019, nearly the identical situation, right? Again, we're sort of near a top here. UNH just really likes to stay within this 200 to 300 point range. Seems like it's just sort of a move. They move sideways from up and down while all within this range. So you can see here, even now coming into 2020, we had COVID drop happen, and in April they reported once again, and again a 2-point move, or 2% move rather, and a continuation move, right? And again, we're seeing this 300 area. So finally, we get to last quarter, and now we're starting. UNH over the last few months has been breaking out of that 300 level. So right here, you can see that we're pretty much range bound, right? And so we actually gapped down in this instance on that lower revenue number, and we had a bullish reversal, right? And then a little bit of continuation in the next day, but more or less kind of moving sideways. So taking a look at those quarters, again, let's just reiterate some of the things that we saw. Like they're going to beat on their earnings per share, right? And we just saw that this morning. They did miss several times out of the last 5 quarters, but this quarter, having recorded that this morning, we know that that's not going to be the case. So we can look here to the good revenue, and we're going to see we are gapping up. I believe we're going to look at this in a second, but somewhere in the 5-point range at least at this point, with maybe about an hour to go. I'm trying to get this out quickly for you guys. And then during the trading range, our average trading range is 7 to 11 points. And really that kind of, the average is lower towards that 7-point range. As we talked about, the price action usually goes up. And then it's typical for a continuation move in most quarters. Another thing I didn't mention, but we do have typical volume of 40 to 55,000 shares prior to open. A couple times we've had it go as high as 150. And like we talked about with some of those lower wicks on the candles, this stock does have a tendency to do a retest. So it's not always best to just come out and buy calls or puts just right out of the gate. You really got to do your research to know exactly how that works. So just getting into where we are right now, you can see that we sort of have this line of resistance up above, and over the last couple days, we made attempts to move higher. Like I've said before, we've broken out of that 300-point range. We're up, 330-ish, 335 now in the pre-market. So what does all this mean? And here's just like a chart of where we are as I record this. Like I said, about 335. So we know that we're at an all-time high. We know that we beat on the revenue and the earnings per share. We're up, and statistically, we should continue to go up during the trading session. But really, there's more to it than that. So what we're really looking at, and our analysis goes a little deeper than just that price action. We're looking at the macro conditions. We're looking at what the markets are doing. And some of the things that we take a look at here at 13 Market Moves are the behavior of things like the dollar. What is oil doing? How is this stock correlating to some of the other indexes and things like that? These are all the things that you're going to learn if you schedule a call with us. It's only 20 minutes. And you're going to talk to an expert. You're going to figure out and really find some more in-depth pieces of information that will help you to really know what the next play is, what the strikes you should have, things like that. So what we expect here right now is, like I said, we're going to go up, we're going to hold. IV is probably going to be a little bit high, and honestly, we think that this looks a lot like October of 2018. And if you remember from the beginning of this presentation, October 2018, we had that big gap up. We went up, but we did not have a continuation, right? So from that point, we went down actually for about, it was maybe 10 days or so. So the highest probability play from our perspective is actually sitting on the sidelines for today, Wednesday. Let's just wait, see what it does. It's likely, looking at what happened with some of the banks yesterday that beat, it was more of a choppy range than anything. But we do ultimately think the stock will go up today, and that the highest probability, highest profit play that you can make is to buy puts on Thursday morning for next week. Target nothing too crazy, but just, target the 10-point maybe range downward from wherever price sits. But like I said, these are all things that we're going to teach you, and you can learn if you make a 20-minute phone call today. Just schedule that on 13mmtv.com/schedule a call. It's been on the bottom of the slide here. And we hope that you guys have a great trading day. We'll see you on the next trade, and let's roll.